Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to this video where I have Boaty McBoatface, Boaty McBoatface FF, which you may not know why that is. It's because of this. Yeah, it's a transverse front-wheel drive boat. This is interesting because I tried rear-wheel drive. It handled like trash. I put front-wheel drive on. It actually handled really well. What do you know? Now, as you may be able to tell, I've put a lot of work into this interior. Too much work, in my opinion. And yes, that's the thing. I've forgotten how to use beam, so... Not beam. Automation. So I can't seem to get the body stuff rid of. There we go. Yeah. Automation, that's it. Anyway, you'll see hopefully this is it. It's got live coil rear and it's got double wishbone front and it is on a frame, body on frame construction. It's overall like a normal American car. Unfortunately, the automation doesn't let me add this rear seat on the actual mechanics of how it works. I also need to seal this area up between these two seats because I haven't done that stupidly, but yes, it's still got a few things that need adjusting, but I think I did a decent job with the interior. Now, getting onto the engine, we've got the Beam American Racing V8 Turbo. Single turbo in this case, it is a turbo. Just go back to the overall chassis construction, that's what I've got. Just to show you. The chassis does flex, like I could see in the back when I didn't have this whole thing covered up, that these overall joints would kind of twist a bit. So there is chassis flex, but it's not too bad. Front wheel drive, indeed, it would be. I've made it so it fits well. That has its own set of downsides though. We've ended up with a 4.6 litre engine, pretty small overall, but it's still a V8, so I've managed that much. I mean, it would stand no chance of being a muscle car if it didn't have a V8 at least. So we've got 3 valve per cylinder overhead cam, which sounds a bit odd, but I tried 2 and I tried 4. 3 and 4, the power is almost indifferentiable. 2, you do notice the power hit, so it just made sense. Got just under 375 horsepower. That's because I've turned all the quality up plus 5. This is a high-end car, and we are making high-end power. Turbo lag is actually pretty well restrained. We've got 1500 RPM and yeah, up to like 5100 or so in the top end. Yeah, I've done that because it's very stroke bias for overall engine capacity. So I've put high-end components here just to make sure it can kind of handle the power and torque. It does give me these percentages, but I think I'm working within the limits of the engine quite well. We have got valve timing because, as I say, it's high-end. Another big thing, though, that I'll mention is the... where is it? Fuel injection. I've got some pretty fancy fuel injection. Not the greatest, but multi-point injection is pretty darn good for a 1985. Just let you hear it. Now, I'm sure you can hear that, but in some sense, I'm sure you can hear it. But in Beam and G, for some reason, it seems oddly silent. I mean, it suits the car, but still. Wait, is this it's 24 valve? So it's like the same as many 4-cylinders have. No, that doesn't seem right. Is it V6? I don't know, honestly. I think you could get 24 valve V6s. My mind just draws a blank there. 6.4 seconds it says, but I'm pretty sure this can do about 6.1 to 6.2. It does exceed your expectations there, which surprises me because that's a very rare thing. We've got some crazy solid discs on the front and then pretty weak ones on the back because that's how this brakes. It really relies on the front brakes. Managed to get away with solid discs though to try and somewhat bring the cost back down. Yeah, I've used +5 on quality on a lot of things. Actually, I do wonder, I could turn this up for quality. But I don't know because, yeah, some things are 0, some things are +5. That's how I went about it. Could probably turn the interior quality up, but not bothering with that now. Got advanced safety. You see, this is a suspension we've got. It's not got air suspension or hybrid pneumatic or anything, but I think with my tuning I've done a decent job. The rear will bounce a little, but I did what I could. Because I've worked so hard on trying to get this thing balanced. You see, the rear is actually stiffer than the front. And as I say, it's still bouncy, even with that extra stiffness to try and somewhat level it. The front has to be soft as well to absorb the bumps, but it actually, if I just show you here, the comfort rating improves if I put that down. But I've actually tested this. It just bounces too much if I do that. Hence why I've made these decisions. It is a comfort-based boat, which just so happens to have loads of power and massive tyres and brakes. That's what it is, but there's only so much you can do to turn a boat into a performance car. 1,800 kilos as well, that's not great. But I think it handles okay. And we do have an open differential, naturally. Also, you may notice the gearbox is automatic. So, yeah, if we just hopefully zoom in here, hopefully this shows you what you need to know. I mean, yeah, if we had a transmission lever there, it wouldn't work. I know some had column shift on some of the older American cars. That's what I'm really running off of. But if it was manual, you would need a shifter in the middle, which completely destroys my objective of using a bench seat in the front. Because although I'm sure bench seats and manual transmissions have been used, you end up with a gear lever in a very awkward position. The worst case of it is probably those which literally have the lever between the middle passenger's legs. I'm sure you can imagine how awkward that would be. Anyway, I also have this. I've called it the Optimism. It's not because it's a very happy, optimistic car. It's because when you own this, you have to be optimized. You have to be optimistic that you can someday own something better. These may look like alloys. They are not. They are steel wheels. It's front-wheel drive. It actually has a V8, 175 horsepower. You may notice the displacement's the same. That's because this is essentially what I'm going to use the base model engine for that other car. It's got a 4-barrel carb. That's like the nicest thing I can say about the entire car. The whole thing, actually, I mean, as I was getting to thinking earlier, I called it Black Edition a while ago. I've probably misspelt accountant. I don't know. And I've now not spelt accountant at all. Accountant Edition. Now, I wish I had that clunky old Dell keyboard, but I don't currently have that on my setup. It's got a cheese interior. Nowhere near finished cheese interior, but yes. You don't get an airbag. Having an airbag would cost money. I mean, this thing is just like a running joke for me. We even get leaf springs of the most basic springs and dampers. Well, the rear doesn't even have any wheel springs. It's just beams of metal. I have put a galvanised chassis on, but I'm beginning to think even that's a bad idea. You know what? Let's change it. I don't think it changes the weight enough to really change anything else. So, you know. We've got 24 miles per gallon, which I think is about the same as the other one. Maybe a mile per gallon up, despite this having nowhere near as much power as that turbo engine. Yeah, so we're going to get steel chassis. Because, you know, it would corrode quite a bit, yes. But here's a gotcha point. We have plastic cladding, so you'll never even see the rust when it sneaks up on you. Yes, the accountants knew what they were doing here. Stick some cheap plastic on the outside and nobody will know about the deep-routed problems within this vehicle. As I say, it's just a joke and I love it for that. Like, it's just a dumb joke vehicle. The craziest thing is, though, when I actually drove this, it drove well. I've put -5 quality on pretty much everything. Just to drive home the point, this is the Accountant Edition. And yes, that's the thing. The engine is 236 kilos. Yeah, that's probably why it weighs so much. 1275, I say. That might not sound like much, but this is like absolutely basic. It's got basic safety, basic interior, very basic entertainment system. Yeah. It's not exactly what you would expect to add up to weighing that much. I mean, probably not helped by the overall curb weight that saddles this back. So we've got 7.4. It's got larger steel wheels and 205 width tyres, because 205 width tyres are actually they work quite well on this car. I've also had to put the transmission quality up because if you see, I put it down to 1, gearbox problems. That the gearbox and the transmission, sorry, gearbox and engine are the only really nice things about this. Everything else is just like built to a price, and you can tell. You can really tell it's built to a price. So I've got 7.3 0 to 60, which feels like an improvement if I am honest, although I can't say for certain. I think it's gone down like 1 point of a second, but it may not really mean anything in the real world. So the other one was doing about 6.2, I think. This isn't that much slower, and that's what's crazy. I mean, you're saving like 500 kilos, but this thing just does not make power, and it's on steel wheels, and you're somehow getting to be just a second slower. There would be a transmission there if I could be bothered to finish the interior, which I could not be bothered to before making this video, hence why it is this way. 205, as I say, 18 inches. I believe the wheel diameter is actually the same between this and the other boaty thing, so that's not going to help ride quality. I mean, they've even put white rim on the wheels to make it look like they're white wall tyres and actually like it has tyre tread, which it does not have. We are also on medium tyres. The other one was on sport, but you can still pull acceleration from this on medium, so I figured why not do that. The brakes are suffering from brake fade. You know what? I didn't adjust the brakes. Sounds dumb, and it is dumb. So there is brake fade, and it's kind of serious brake fade. I might just put vented discs on. So the way brake fade is high, how low can I go? It's on vented discs. Okay, that's not good. I'm on sportier pads. Yeah, I think I'll increase the quality here because I can imagine myself only spending more money trying to get a flawed system working, so to speak. So the rear brake force is very high. If I can stop this being very high and not get terrible brake fade. You see what I mean though about the quality? Decreasing it just didn't really do the thing any favours. In particular, like I can make the brakes smaller at least. The rear brake force is very high apparently. I think I can lower the brake force specifically on the rear. It is on 75% like more sporty brakes, but still. So we've got brake fade. I can fix that, I believe, without making them too big. I mean, this is just part of a process. I've tested the suspension on this. It's not awful actually for what it is, for how basic it is. So we've got that. Now the other way I can do things, which I've done this on the other car as well. Look at how bad this is. I mean, that's because I just put this one lip spoiler on thingy on the back, nothing on the front, because that would cost money and we don't have money to work with. Where was I? So we've got the stats. 48.7 brake force. I'm going to try lowering this, see if I can, yeah. So 48.7, so to a point it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. 48.7. Yeah, I think I'll put vented discs on, because I can make them smaller that way and still get the same braking performance. I wouldn't normally do this on a car designed just to be cheap, but in this particular case, I can put smaller brakes on. The brakes are suffering from brake fade. So yeah, they're a little smaller than you have to have them to get the performance, but I think it's going to work okay. So 48 point, yeah, the rear brakes don't really play into it. How about drum brakes? Drum brakes really just destroy the cooling, don't they? Okay, I'll take that. 255mm and 200. They're less than ridiculous brake sizes. I think they're manufacturable cheaply enough. Yeah, I just didn't pay any attention to the brakes before though and how they cool. I really should have, but I didn't. Anyway, what have we got here? So I'm going to focus on like drivability and sportiness perhaps. So I think I can make them a little stiffer on the back. It says the rear tyres are wide. I do not believe that for one moment that 205s are wide tyres. The rear dampers are hard. Okay, I can leave them at 1.8. How about stiffening up the front? That hurts drivability, but it makes the handling slightly better. I think at this point, yeah, at this point 3.2 is probably the best. See, just having a look at the variables, seeing where I can take them. And again, you can make the damping too stiff. So I think overall this is very similar to what I had before. I can actually firm this up. And it's not really hurting, actually. To have the stiffer anti-roll bars, it's apparently making the sportiness better, but is it to the point, you know? Okay, 51.2. I'm going to keep them out 3,800. That's as high as I can go. So this car will be ready now after a little bit of work. I think I've even lightened it by changing the brakes, interestingly enough. Let's see how these cars do on some tests. I so hate what I have done here. I mean, this is literally a car built by accountants with a cheese interior, and it somehow actually looks good and actually looks sporty. I mean, we've got this GNX. I didn't design or build this, but somehow it actually seems fitting against this. It's not even got alloy wheels. How is that possible? You can tell, though, it is the smallest car here. Oddly enough, this doesn't look as huge as it perhaps should in this crowd. It is a massive vehicle, but, you know, certainly, if I just drive this about... I mean, let's just see this. For some reason, there's no engine sound. I don't know what's causing that. So we'll park this a bit closer. Yeah. I think that shows the length of it, especially. The width looks pretty similar. A bit wider on this, but you can tell that length difference is real and is there. So, let's try and actually cram this between the two. I'm not good at parking cars, but this should work for reference. There we go. Ah, that's okay by my standards. The GNX is huge. I feel like that shouldn't be this big. I mean... It looks like it's based on the same platform as this, and this is an absolute boat of a thing. I thought the GNX was supposed to be more of a mid-size. This one is smaller, obviously. That's supposed to be like an entry-level car, which just happens to have a V8 in for reasons beyond anyone's comprehension. Anyway, so I'm going to do some suspension tests. See how they handle. This one should, in theory, be the worst of all. This is on leaf springs and coils front. Not coils, struts front. How is it doing this so well? It has no right to be as good over bumps as it is. The GNX seems like this, but basically with a better suspension configuration. And the boat, well, it's a boat. It's assembled in exactly the way you would expect. Ah, there you can see some judder. There's some judder. It's not actually that bad. Like, the front suspension is definitely carrying this thing. And I mean, I don't have to take this over all the bumps. I'm sure you can tell. It's like, it's obviously a sportier car in its overall setup, but it rides actually okay for what it is. It's on leaf springs on the back, for example, and it still actually handles okay. I mean, it's nice. It's composed enough for what it is. Now let's try the GNX, because if anything, this should be... This is quick as well off the line. I don't think the others will beat it, but it gives me a point of comparison, you know, having all these cars here. Yeah. Oof, there we go, like... This, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think it's just that front lip spoiler catching. I don't think this one is inherently bad over the bumps. It just has those aerodynamic features the other doesn't have. So yeah, just letting it drift and not like braking or anything, it handles it pretty good. I'm not going to say which one's better because I really don't know which one of this or the of my black one is better, but I feel like they're both, yes, sportier cars that kind of handle well. Now, let's make way for the Queen. Or the King, or whatever you want to call it. I like to think of it as a king. It's probably more of a queen, though. Garage queen that no one ever takes out. You see, I think I did quite good with the suspension here. Maybe I'm just delusional because I spent so long on it and I'm forcing myself to believe it's good. It certainly is boaty. Like, you can tell this leans more than other cars. There we go. You can definitely tell it's softer. But you can hopefully see just how hard the suspension works to keep this thing stable. Like, you can only go so far without going with hydraulics or air suspension. That's why I got hydraulics on my real car. But still. You see, this bounces, but you can go over these kinds of really aggressive bumps, and it just takes it. That's what I wanted to get to. You can do it in basically any of these cars, but this car really does try, even if it fails at times. So, I'm just driving over here now. This is where we can do the acceleration tests. So, if we just have... yeah. I've changed to this. Let's drive this anyway. The GNX will beat these two. This one, yeah. We have floats over here, surprisingly well, truth be told. I'm amazed. This thing should be junk. I designed it to literally just be a cheap throwaway car, and it does this. Oh dear. It does not like braking. I don't know if I put ABS on it, honestly. Does it? No, it doesn't come up at all. It didn't flash up at all, so I don't think it has ABS. Anyway, let's see how this can do. I can't remember exactly what it did, but I think it did like 7 point something seconds. 7.47, and then I'll go the other way and see how this does. See if I can get better. It really does actually grip better than I remember it gripping. Perhaps that has something to do with the overall setup. I don't know. Look at that flames! I keep thinking maybe now I'm actually doing it wrong. Maybe I am just not accelerating. So we've got 7.3. I feel like this is getting quicker though. I think one thing I'm going to try, because 7.3 is pretty good for what power this outputs, if I'm honest. I'm going to try like revving it to 2000 or something and then letting it go. Yeah, it leaps up after this point. So we're going to leave it there. Accelerate. Try not to steer, even if it is torque steering a little. Yeah, so 7.3 is probably as good as I'm going to get with this. I mean, I'll take it. That's a fair enough score for something with 175 horsepower. Now, we've got the GNX. Let's just drive this over. Let's try it on this suspension test. Yeah, it's doing quite well. Kind of floaty, actually, as you would hope from a good American car. I mean, I imagine if you were inside it, my blue monster would, it would handle in a bit more of a boaty way, a bit softer. And like, it'll probably get some of the really big bumps out a little better than these. But overall, I think any one of these will handle decently. So we want to go get a few revs there. And we go. This is a V6, and it actually does have an auto, so for a thing with an auto, yeah, you'll see. I got 4.7 before once or twice in this. It is quick when you get it round up properly, and I've just left that other car on the road, and a bit of my GNX has flown off. I mean, it's built like a DeLorean, it seems. There we go. That let the turbo spool up, which is exactly what we want. 5.05. You see what I'm getting at here? This thing is capable. So, we've got this, and I'm going to try one more thing, which is just no revs other than the base ones that it's just idling at. And then go. Because I remember that before did actually get some good performance out of this. I'm just trying to give it every fair chance I can, yeah. So the best I'm going to see realistically, I think, is 5 seconds. I gave it 3 runs there. It did it did 5.1 technically, but I'll be kind. I'll call it a 5-second one. And now we have my vehicle. Actually, I forgot to mention. Yeah, it's the only one of the 3 that does that. I actually learned a thing. Anyway, let's give this a go. So, again, I'll try our just launched the GNX. There we go. No engine noise, eerie quiet, which it shouldn't be. 6.7. No, believe me, I have done better, though. And the first one isn't always the best. That's bound to be the case. Yes. I mean, look, there's too much wood in this car. I know. There's not actually enough chrome now, I think of it. I could put more chrome in. But yes. It's also, I forgot to mention, but there's a reason it's coloured like this. It's because it's supposed to be the most American car ever. So, I've made it in the American flag colours. You know, that's just how I am. I thought it would be fun. So, I think if I can... Yeah, let's do that. Get the revs up nicely. 6.15, there we go. We're finally seeing... Yeah, my voice broke. We're finally seeing the performance. I believe that was about as good as I'd seen. And maybe saw like 6.12 once. But it can never do that consistently. That was just really a lucky one. Yeah, so if I rev it too high, it will roll forwards. Let's try 2.5. I can hold it about there, I think. Yeah, so that was about as quick as I could go without it just dragging itself along with the brakes on. Yeah, 6.2 then. So we're looking at about 5 versus 6.1 seconds, let's say. Because in either case, yeah, that's what they were doing. And I think, for what this is, I mean, look, the GNX is definitely a sporty vehicle. And that was supposed to be one of the quickest vehicles of its time. Quickest muscle cars of its time. For a front-wheel drive boat to come as close as it did, I think I've done okay. I'm going to now actually take these things on a rally stage and see how they do. All 3 of them. I'm going to start off with this one, yes, here it is. Because I feel like this will give me a good base point. If the boat can't beat this, we're in trouble. I mean, beating this is more important than beating the GNX, in my opinion. So, here we have the rally stage. It's basically the first one that comes up.
Left, 70. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, something went wrong with the exhaust mirroring. And for some reason, the exhaust that isn't showing is the one that's actually feeding the exhaust to. Oh, I shifted up too early there. This is the only one of the 3 cars that has a manual in its credit. So, you know, it's not like we've called it a sporty car and then stuck an auto in it. It's at least got that going for it, although it is a 4-speed. 5-speed manuals were a thing in 85.
3 right long, opens, 150.
Yeah, if only I could fully understand these directions. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, that was a small enough bump. Understeer bit me there, and it bit hard, and it hurt. This is not like that. This is not like the Lansdale I was playing around with before. The Lansdale, yeah. Goodness. It says the engine's off. Thankfully, that was a very frontal bump. It didn't really do anything, but you know. It's scary. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Please, please, please. Ugh. That's not good. You know, the issue is I've kind of bent up the wheel now. It's working, and I don't think it's going to really affect my speed.
Right, over crest,
but yeah.
3 left, tightens, 30.
The thing is, this just loses control. And maybe my car could handle that kind of aggressive hit because it's got such soft suspension it would just bounce out the way. This... The issue is that, yeah, it understeers. But it understeers in a pretty chronic way because Especially under brakes where you really need to understeer a little less. It just keeps understeering and it's a real problem. There we go.
Flat left.
Flat.
4 right.
In a car that does not want to go flat.
6
I mean,
left.
I've got the rear wheel damage. At least I'm not putting power down there. It's the
And 1
one
right long
real
tightens.
advantage of front wheel
50.
drive.
4 right
I
short.
think the front may be
70.
damaged as well. I think the whole thing might just be damaged. But thankfully it's damaged for alignment. It's far from undrivable. And I don't think I'm going to lose much time. Despite all the scraping noises of the tyres. There is still a suspension system here, even if it's not very good to kind of make up for that.
Flat left.
It sounds weird, but I feel almost like this handles better in this kind of half-destroyed state. Maybe I'm just getting used to it.
4 right. 6 left short.
As I say,
Into caution.
also, I've not
1 right
thrown
short.
away this
2
one.
left.
I may lose a
5 right
tiny
short.
amount of speed,
50.
but it's not going to be anything that really destroys it. Ooh. That felt like it didn't damage it at least.
Into
That
4
was
right short.
too
Into 2
late
left.
though.
Over
I think I
crest.
need to brake a bit earlier. The brakes are functioning and they are slowing the vehicle
1 right
though, which
opens.
is, there's something to be said about that.
Into 5 left. Tightens. Over bump.
There we
5
go.
right. Bumpy.
Oh, over a
30.
bump shouldn't be an issue
2
here
left extra
though.
long. Opens.
It's not the kind of
40.
car that's so firmly sprung. And there we go, spinning up the tyres.
And 4 right short.
Come
2
on.
right. 2 left. Over crest.
You see, that's the issue. You brake and it just wants to go in a straight line when you brake, and you really don't need it to go in a straight line when you brake, because that's only going to make it so much easier to throw the one away and possibly your car.
40.
I've
4
already
left long
destroyed
opens.
this thing. It's not
Over
going to go
crest.
for much on the used
30.
market with all the damage on it. Although, to be honest, if it even lasted this long before the one, bits will probably fall off it just looking at it funny. This is not a high quality interior.
4 right long.
It's literally
30.
cloth seats and a whole load of plastic.
3 left extra long.
And I suspect the plastics used are not high quality plastics. Can I flip it over? Yeah, at least lets me do that much. If this was a standard beam car without this weirdly strong automation nature to it, then yeah, it would probably struggle. You see here, it's like, as I say, there's just issues. It says the engine's off. The engine is not off. It's lying to me. I'm pretty sure it's done that with another car as well today. It says the engine's off and it isn't. Maybe it did it with this one. Despite everything, to be fair, the thing is still working. Honestly, if either the GNX or Boaty McBoatface cannot beat this, then I would be amazed, because it's kept hitting things, it's flipped over. And you see, the one thing is the brakes. You really want this thing to work when you hit the brakes hard. And what does it do? It understeers. Oh my goodness. How? Yeah, sorry I said you understeer. You oversteer now, don't you? You love oversteering, it seems. It's at the moment I say it understeers too much, it just starts oversteering wildly. You're front wheel drive. How are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Front wheel drive is supposed to be stable.
Into 5 left. And 2 left short.
I think it's just tired of me driving it at this point. It just wants a relaxed life of someone who just wants to boast about having a V8 without actually ever trying to use the performance of such a V8. Somehow I didn't fly off the course there.
And 5 left. 40.
At least, as I say, as bad as this might be, with front wheel drive it's at least somewhat controllable, like more so than it would be with messed up alignment and rear wheel drive. That would probably fly off a cliff or something. I can only imagine this is going to tell me I failed once I actually get this to the line.
50. 2 left. Into 6 right. Opens. 40.
No, 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 not tree, not tree. Oh dear. I managed to just about avoid the worst of the damage by hitting the tree within the middle of the car. This is not easy to drive. I do not like it. The gearbox is now damaged on top of everything else. It looks like one of the leaves on the back has just collapsed. I don't know. not much is left of this.
Flat left. 40.
To its credit,
Flat right.
it's still going.
And 6
It
left.
feels almost like it's less
5 right short,
oversteering now.
400.
It's like it's going through phases until it finally grows up and
5
goes
right,
to the scrapyard.
150.
Ooh, through that board,
Cut.
which you
30.
probably shouldn't do, but still, I
3
think
right
I'm at
short,
least hitting the
tightens.
end almost.
Narrows. Over finish. 30.
Remember, you don't get an airbag on this. Thanks for reminding me, car, of the dangers of not having an airbag. Oh, no, at this point, it's just getting comedic. Like, really? This is how... You're right near the finish line. Wait, can I... If I can at least get this to the finish, I'm gonna try. Come on, vehicle. Yes! Despite everything seeming to play against it, it's made it!
Very nice. Now to stop control. 5 left.
I love how the car looks like this and is very nice. That's what you call a race car. And the wheels just hanging off. Ah, goodness. So much fun, though, no less. Okay, so
5 left.
apparently,
70. Good luck.
apparently there is not a way to turn the traction control off on this. So I'm going to have to just use it as it is. What was the lag?
Left long. 50.
Was it turbo lag? I don't know. I'm scared of this thing now. Yeah, see, this car handles, and it handles well. Doesn't change the fact I am afraid of it because of what happened to the other car. This handles
3
well,
right long.
though.
Opens. 150.
You see, the brakes doesn't feel like it's trying to hurt me every time I brake. It doesn't feel like it's trying to just throw me into a cliff face and ruin my one. Oh dear, yeah. See, and there's so much grip as well. This thing just grips and goes. It really is incredible. You see this, you're like, a muscle car. No, it handles actually like you'd imagine a Mercedes handling of the time. It really is better than you would ever expect it to be.
4 left long. Opens. 100.
And you wouldn't even know this is live coil on the back. It handles, I would say, like it's got independent rear suspension. It really does defy logic.
40. 3 left. Tightens.
It's such a strange experience, though, driving an actually decent performance vehicle after that other thing. And I mean, I get it. I get what that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be just a car which only has a V8 for bragging-wise. Really, that is just a four-cylinder economy car where they stuck a big engine in the front from another American car. But, you know,
Flat left.
it really does. Yeah, it also shows nothing fell off that car, even to the very end, other than the wheel.
50.
This, a piece just flew off.
Right short. 70.
I don't know, it's something about this mod, just bits love falling off of it. And there we go. Slow into here. You see, a bit of oversteer there, nothing I couldn't control. And we're talking about a pretty large car here in a tight circuit. The other car was a decent amount smaller. There we go. Had room to fix it.
6 left short.
I mean, it does actually handle kind of like a rally car. And I shouldn't be saying this because it feels wrong, but it does. And you see, that corner, I was taking it quite sharply. If it did not have the grip to carry it through, I would have thrown the one away. It did have the grip to carry it through, and that means quite a lot here. Same there, like it slid, but I was able to capture it and carry on where I wanted. I feel like it's going to do me in at some point and just throw me somewhere I don't want to, but at the same time, this is, so far, it's proven itself. I'd already crashed the other car by this point. What was it? The accountant special. You can tell the accountants had their part in engineering that. This, it doesn't feel like the accountants were responsible. It feels like the accountants didn't have a job at all besides providing the base car, to be honest. It feels like unrealistic how good this is. Almost like they stuck it on race tyres and cheated.
30. 3 left extra long. Opens. 100.
See, that's the difference. There, it felt like I could go off, but I was able to just take a little care while driving it, and I was able to recover and not smash the car into a tree or a cliff face.
60.
Even like the handling intricacies aside, I can just tell this car is quicker. And that shouldn't come as a surprise. We're looking at about 100 horsepower more. That is a lot of power, and nice and smooth over these bumps. I like that. I don't think that's really a bad thing to have. I feel like my car will never be the GNX, and oh dear. Okay, I can take that. The car has actually taken it as well. I felt like it would get damaged from that. If it's done, I think it's veering slightly to the right, but nothing I can't compensate for. Yeah, I messed that up there, but I think I can make it work. Yeah, it's definitely steering slightly to the right. Nothing really horrendous though. Had to lift off there because I could feel it sliding at just one moment, and the car did accept it, and it did regain control. Gotta go a bit slower here. There we go. That's the difference it makes to have a car that actually handles. Because you see, even when I did make a mistake in this, the car was controlled enough to make that mistake count less, so to speak. Bit of a lift there, and it worked. I can see the finish, I believe. But you see, I had one knock there. And I had a knock there, okay. I had a knock there, but that's okay. So we've got just over 5 minutes. It seems to think that's a failure, but I don't. This was a lovely thing to drive. And I'm slightly scared I'll never be able to compete with it. Currently, this thing gives me the vibe of the demonic Chevrolet Impala is not real. It can't hurt you. And then the demonic Chevrolet Impala shows up.
5 left.
I am scared of this. It's the most powerful vehicle of them all. And it's a boat, which is perhaps not what you want on this circuit. Mainly perhaps because also I built that first vehicle, which was awful, the accountant special. So remember, that was the same person, the same man that built that as this, and oh, this is night and day better. It does feel slower than the GNX, and perhaps even less precise, but I can control this. There we go, spinning the tyres up, but not in an uncontrollable way. I can still handle the power pretty good. It doesn't understeer as bad as I felt it would before. Slow down. Brakes are not as good as I would like. Okay, I'll take that. I don't think that really hurt it. Again, I seem to do that with my cars, particularly. I'm just not a good driver, quite honestly. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah. That was not great. You could feel the front wheel drive understeer, and I didn't feel like I could brake to correct it. It feels like the alignment is a bit off, but it could equally just be torque steering.
2 right short, 30, 3 right short, over crest, 50.
No, the engine is on. Stop telling me it's off.
6 left.
The engine was definitely on, and it was definitely running.
4 left, over bump, 60, 4 left short, over bump.
Oh goodness, I almost threw that away.
3 right short, opens, 80.
I believe this does have positive downforce, front and rear, not by a lot though.
6 left, over crest.
That's why there's actually those lumps on the bonnet right before the windshield, because they actually provide downforce. That's how it gets front positive downforce. Yeah, you can see the front is bent down a little.
150.
I highly doubt this is going to beat the Buick, if I'm honest. I could be wrong. The gearing does not feel optimised for that purpose, though.
Flat left.
Mind you, grip is pretty good. For a boat, this handles really well around these tight corners.
And 4 right. 6
I
left
did
short.
mess up.
Into
I did
caution.
hit the front
1 right
corner.
short.
I will
2
admit to
left.
that.
Into 5
And
right
it does
short.
at times
50.
understeer because of the front wheel drive. It doesn't feel like the same kind of a touring car that
Into 4
the
right short.
Buick
Into
did,
2
or the
left.
rally car,
Over
whatever you
crest.
call it, that
50.
Buick felt like. This feels... Obviously, it just feels like a
4
modified
right.
front wheel
Opens.
drive estate, but it really, as far as
5 left.
modified front wheel
Tightens.
drive
Double
estates
bump.
go, it really isn't a bad
5 right.
option.
Bumpy. 30.
Oh,
Left extra
bumpy!
long.
You
Opens.
love
40.
bumpy! It's the one thing this car does well!
5 left. And 4 right short. And 2 right. 2 left. Over crest. 50.
Oh dear. See,
4 left
this
extra long.
does
Opens.
lock up
Over
a little
crest.
under brakes, but it has ABS for a start, which is nice. And it doesn't understeer as badly as the other, which is why I'm able to just about recover this thing a lot of times where I wouldn't otherwise be able to. Like, you see, hit on the brakes there. The brakes are decent, and although it was understeering under brakes, it wasn't understeering to the point it was like a chronic issue. It was working. I can tell there wouldn't be much front tyres left on this for long. The front tyres are under a lot of stress. There we go, sticking to the inside, and I don't want to hit those trees. That would end in disaster. It is a huge vehicle, I mean. There's no escaping that. It's wide, it's long. It's not really the kind of thing you should be driving in Italy, but I am doing it anyway. Somehow that did not appear as bad as it could have. You know, like, that should have gone a lot worse. I think I did slightly mess up the front wheel alignment, but I'll take it. I didn't lose near as much speed as I perhaps could have there. Boing.
2 left, opens. 30.
Yeah, you can tell it's soft.
5 right, tightens.
Yeah, like, I can tell that wheel has got completely twisted out of shape. But it's attached, it's putting the power down, and sometimes that's what's important. Come on. You could have done a lot worse than that front end hit into a tree. I think I'm losing against the GNX. The GNX didn't have anything like that happen to it. I honestly got lucky that it bounced back because it meant I could just keep going without losing a huge amount of time. But this thing is definitely feeling the stress. And maybe the tyres are even just overheating from all of the stress they're put under. Remember, the GNX was rear wheel drive and it put down the power quite well. But that had the front wheels doing separate things to the rear wheels. The rear wheels were putting the power down. The front wheels were steering that power. The front wheels do everything, and with 375 horsepower, I may just be asking too much of them. No less, if you saw how this thing handled before, it was this uncontrollable death trap. Compared to that, I would more than happily drive this. I mean, I think anyone could really drive this round here quite happily. It's a hard thing to master, definitely, but you could drive far worse. You know, it's going to take a bit of practice, as I say, to get the one right. But I can do it. Oh dear, oh dear. Kind of the alignment messed up, played against me there. I see I'm getting close to the finish. I remember. What was it? The accountant special? Yeah, that thing broke just before the finish line. Mind you, it was probably designed to just work long enough and then fail. So I guess I succeeded there.
Good job. Stop at stop control.
Yeah. I have no excuse. I'm like 45 seconds slower than the GNX. It was fun. You can make your kids very ill by having them rolling about on that back seat, but what else is the use for it? I mean, you know, in fairness, I've got, what, a 7-seater here? I don't exactly think you're going to be putting 7 people in the Buick. I also have rear doors. There's some things the Buick just can't beat this at. Speed is one of the things this cannot beat the Buick at, though. Let's just have a little cruise around here. A place where this car does not belong. Jump! Boing. Yeah, it is a fun thing. I mean, I'm happy with what I've created here. I'm not going to deny it. It's beaten by the GNX in almost every way. I mean, I think, as I say, big bumps, I feel like this is better, but still, the GNX just beats it out. And should that really be a surprise? We're talking the 1980s. For the 80s, this would have been a rapid front-wheel drive at the very least. And you are getting a turbo, which means you are immediately a cool dad because everybody wanted a turbo in the 80s. It's also a V8. The GNX couldn't afford a V8, could they now? There we go. I just love how crazy this thing is, really. Boing. We've arrived! Totally nothing wrong with this. Do the front lights work? Yes. It's automation. Of course it would work. Why those lights are all white, I don't know. But alas, this is our vehicle. Slightly destroyed. I'll try and get a good interior shot. Yeah, I mean, look, I got a working steering wheel, the GNX doesn't. Therefore, mine is better. Anyway. Also, we have triple sunroofs. The thing is, that's it, isn't it? At least at the end of it all, you can just have a cruise in this and hopefully not get stuck. Also, changing it, yeah. There we go. You can have a nice cruise in this. Did it actually float over a massive curb there? You can just have a nice cruise in this. Look at your wood trim, your automatic air conditioning, and your very advanced hi-fi, and just enjoy the scenery. The GNX, I didn't actually bring this up, but let's just change. The interior is like my big thing here. I've also somehow got a, measurement thing up. I've also got duplicates of my cars because I'm incompetent. So here we have the GNX. Nothing wrong with this interior. I think it actually got some of the same kind of texturing to it. There's nothing wrong with this whatsoever, but it's different. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. This is definitely more of a sports car. You see, you look at mine. Mine is a long-distance tourer, which just happens to have far too much power. This is something you really want to drive fast, because it's a sports car. It really is. By any other name, this is a sports car which just so happens to have an automatic transmission. Oof! I have to see the damage there. Yeah, they are very different cars, and I'm still happy with what I have done with mine. But there's no denying it. The GNX is a monster. So I'm going to leave it here for today, and I'll say goodbye until another day.